you need something. It's almost like your why. It's like, why am I doing this? And then
you also need an accounting tool. Industry standard is probably going to be like QuickBooks. So that really does excite me,
yeah,
because it's all a game. And
the
at the
game
end
I was about to say.
but if you don't even know how to play the game if you're not measuring these things, right?
That's just going to increase those daily revenue sales. And then last in this customer-based metric is going to be customer retention. And so how many times is that customer coming back?
Welcome to the Grit Behind the Grind podcast, where we dive deep into raw, unfiltered journey of entrepreneurship, fitness, mental health, and building businesses from the ground up. I'm Eric Rao, co-founder of Grit and Grind Coffee, real estate developer, fitness enthusiast, dad, and husband.
And I'm Destiny Rao, co-founder of Grit and Grind Coffee, creative, brand strategist, and above all, mom and wife, bringing you real talk on what it takes to thrive as a business owner, especially when you're doing it alongside your partner. Here, we don't just focus on the wins. We dig deep into the struggles, the sacrifices, and the daily grind that it takes to make it all possible. So tune in, subscribe, and get ready to uncover the grit behind the grind.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We are excited today to talk to you about something that all small business owners need to know and understand to make sure that they're having a very successful business model, and that is KPIs. KPIs stand for key performance indicators, and you have to have some type of data to measure to make sure that you are successful in your business model, right? So we are excited to kind of jump in and give you our secret sauce formula, what we've used to measure and track our success and profitability.
I love how excited you are, but deep down inside, this is just stupid stuff that no one wants to do. Seriously, these are numbers and metrics that are the lamest numbers and metrics that there can possibly be. And they're typically not easy to find or get. And so that's why a lot of businesses do not, they're not successful for a long period of time because they don't go back and do the crappy stuff that successful people are doing. But I love your enthusiasm. This stuff sucks.
It sucks doing it, but once you get the project done, being able to go back and measure how successful and healthy your business is, that is exciting. You know what I mean? Because we are competitive people. So when we have something to measure against and track, last month I was net profit 18%, and this month net profit 22%. Dude, that really does excite me, because it's all a game. And
the game, I was about to say.
But if you don't even know how to play the game if you're not measuring these things, right?
Well, it's like whenever you might not know this, but like whenever you have a debit card, you just swipe it. You don't ever pay attention to your bank account. You just like, But whenever you have your finger on the pulse and you do look at, like you said, you understand where money's going, where you might have a little bit more money to spend, or where you might need to pull back from. So yeah, understanding metrics is probably the key to being able to grow.
That also kind of goes back to our point. Remember, we were talking the other day to our kid, and one of the things was, hey, we need to make sure that we teach financial stewardship. And how do we teach these lessons? Well, we don't just give and say, hey, you have this endless amount of, money that you can just blow through whenever you want. No, we need to give you a budget, an allowance. We need to say, hey, you have $100 a week. All right. You need to learn how to manage your expenses that fit inside of here. That way that just like this, if you don't have a benchmark to measure against, you will just go through the money and blow it and not utilize it on the important things that you need to move your needle in your business.
Yeah, or you have those crappy days because us as entrepreneurs, we just have a tendency to put our head down and just grind. But there comes a time, I always say every 5 to 6 months, that we kind of get tired of everything. We're tired of the grind. We're tired of it. Just gets a lot, especially for high functioning people. And you need something. It's almost like your why. It's like, why am I doing this? And then you can look back at those metrics and be like, this is why I'm doing this. Like, it makes sense. Like, it is profitable. I can track KPIs. I can track numbers and be able to say, okay, long-term sustainability, we're going to be on a beach somewhere, hopefully one day.
Right. Yeah, 1000%. We tell all of our, people that we partner with, because we have I guess, two different kind of business models when we talk about the mobile coffee space. And one of those business models is like we just provide a bunch of resource and education and information to help other fellow mobile coffee entrepreneurs. And then we have this other business model to where we actually bring people on that align with our core values and we want to partner with, and we launch more Grit and Grind locations. So Grit and Grind Coffee is, a business model that we partner with certain people. And when we launch a new Grit and Grind business in a certain market, we tell everybody like, hey, the excitement's going to wear off. I mean, yes, this is really fun and it's exciting. It's a new thing. And that's really cool. We're going to have fun doing this business model. But after about 6 months, you're going to need to look at the bank account and see that this is a profitable business, right? So you can get through those hard days, because we're all going to have challenging days. And to have this benchmark and this measurement to say, yes, this is my why. It is serving my goals, whether that's a beach house or whatever that looks like. It allows you to push through the dark days, the difficult days, and keep going. But if you didn't have these benchmarks, it would be like, why am I doing this? This was a cool hobby at first, but I'm over this hobby. Let's go get a new one.
So today's episode is going to be on how to track your profitability in your mobile coffee business. But why? We're nerd numbers. And so 85% of mobile coffee businesses typically fail within the first 2 years. And that's kind of high. That's extremely high. We have, a group of 10 people, we all open up, 8.5 of us are going to close down within 2 years. That's insane to me to think about. And those things come from high operation costs, competition, and then also just being able to consistently maintain a customer base too.
And, what we see is there's so many people get into this business just because they like coffee or they want to have a passion project, a hobby, a side gig, a purpose in life, but they have zero business knowledge. And we honestly, we're serial entrepreneurs. We've had multiple businesses and we've seen that all of the base infrastructure and knowledge is the same
across industries.
Exactly. I need to go and make sure that I negotiate leases, that I get products at a lower cost, that I keep my finger on labor costs. All of these are the same for any type of business that you do. And understanding that, then you take that knowledge of business and then implement it into whatever that front facing kind of business model is, whether that's mobile coffee or sales or whatever that is. But you just got to have a good understanding of, hey, I need to be smart about how I spend my money on growing your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's kind of dive into here. We got a little introduction and talked about like, hey, some of the stats when it comes to open a mobile coffee business and then also challenges. But we have not only done this for ourselves, but helped other people launch their mobile coffee business. And we have kind of, I would say, we've perfected a recipe. We've perfected a successful method of doing this. And we want to share with you how we do things. And then hopefully that is beneficial to you and allows you to sustain your business model if it is one that you are pursuing.
Yeah. The first kind of section that we're going to go over, Eric will break them down, but it's going to be your fixed cost overview. These are things that are going to be expenses in our business that are going to remain consistent regardless of sales or whatever that is. Shoot them a few of those. What are some of those?
Yeah. So the fixed costs, we like to look at them as you got your insurance. We all need to have, some type of general liability policy and then also cover any assets that we have. We've got our utility costs. Utilities is going to be, if you're in a mobile, your gas, water, electric for the trucks. If you're in brick and mortar coffee shops, same items, maybe have the trash aspect as well. You also have like your internet and phone bill. So all of those we're going to kind of bunch into the utilities section. You have the one everyone loves talking about, and that is a lot of times I see people get into the mobile coffee business and they might have been in a service-based business or they just, had a job their entire life, W-2 employee, and they don't realize that there's 2 buckets of taxes, right? So you've got your federal taxes, right, that you pay on how much profit your business brought in. But then you also have sales tax. So sales tax is something that's typically You report it on a monthly basis, and you're going to pay your local municipalities and your state for being able to sell products in that area, right? So you have the sales taxes, you need a budget in there. If you have overlooked that as a very, very key piece that I see a lot of people that have not sold products in the past before getting in this business do overlook. Then you have your software stack. So when you think about running a business, you have to collect revenue. And we live in a day and age where cash is almost becoming non-existent. And we all like to pull out our credit or debit card. And you want to make sure that you have a good POS system, point of sale system. A lot of these point of sale systems look like Toast, Clover, Square. One of our favorites is Dripos. It's a coffee industry specific point of sale system. And then you also need an accounting tool. Industry standard is probably going to be like QuickBooks. So you need to make sure that I would say those are the two primary softwares that you would use to run this type of business. And that is going to be point of sale system and then an accounting piece. Lastly is loan payments. I mean, did you bootstrap this thing and you paid all out of pocket? If so, I mean, you want to pay yourself back at some point, right? But a lot of us, we might have went out and got a loan for this. So you want to calculate those into your fixed cost on what that loan payment is going to be to pay it back. So I would say on fixed cost overview, you want to make sure that you're doing insurance, utilities, taxes, software, and loan payments. So we're going to bucket all of that into our fixed costs that we're going to figure and calculate. All right. So let's move on to the second bucket, and that is going to be variable costs, right? So we just talked about fixed costs, but let's also talk about the variable costs. All right, when we talk about that, it's going to be three main things that I like to look at when we're looking at it.
Hold on. These are going to be costs that are going to fluctuate according to maybe sale volumes and things like that. So keep that in mind. These will always kind of move around and always change. You always kind of have to go back maybe quarterly or even, once a year, twice a year, and go back and re-measure these metrics to keep your eyes on them.
And, just a little bit of context is me and Destiny have spent like the past week really dialing in, doing our annual COGS and kind of like updating all of those. We said this would be a perfect time. It's fresh on our mind. I know it was very beneficial in our business model. So let's share that with, our audience. And another thing is anytime that we don't do a lot of consultant work and coaching right now, just because we're so limited with our time. But I remember when we would do this and I would talk to somebody that's in this space, in the coffee space, and, we look at their books and they're not being profitable. One of the first things that I'm going to look at is these three buckets, right? Because it's where you can have the difference maker of being profitable and non-profitable. So those three things are going to be, number one, labor costs. So we know that we have, to have labor to run these type of businesses. And, somebody could be operating at a way different labor cost than someone right down the road just because they're able to attract the right type of employment. And then they also have a more dialed in training system. And not only that, like one of the ones that I see so much is just having your finger on it, measuring it. Some people don't even measure it. So like if you're not measuring it, how do you know that you are doing good or bad? You really don't.
A lot of times too, what I see a lot of new shops do is they're not paying themselves either. So they might have a labor cost. They might just have their one employee in there and their labor cost is like 8%. But you've got to calculate yourself in the business as well, if you are in the business. Another cool thing about labor costs, and the reason it's probably one of the top ones, is that you can change it for the good. You can make sure that you're hiring, like Eric said, A players, not necessarily B or C players, that you need 5 on staff. You have 2 solid people that can run circles around someone. We've seen it firsthand. And then that will immediately kind of help you with your labor costs. You can increase sales, where if your sales increase, your labor costs, stays the same, or you have the same amount of people. But of course, that margin is going to have a bigger separation because your sales are higher. And that comes with seasonality as well. But it's ever changing labor costs for sure.
Yeah, I would say that labor costs definitely, we say it first because it's the most important, right?
Yeah.
And then just as important as labor costs, we have COGS, right? COGS stands for cost of goods sold. And basically that's telling us like how much are we paying for the products that we're selling to our consumers, right? So we want to make sure that we keep healthy margins, right? And I would say the industry standard is roughly like 33%. And again, going back to doing the unsexy things and measuring these. I remember walking in the trailer and Destiny is literally cutting open mixes and sugars and things, and with a little measuring cup, measuring each one out, and then going cross-reference, checking that, doing the, math that is on the back of the packaging, right? So kind of two-step verification process, which one was more manual, one was a little less manual, but I mean, that really is something that is very time consuming and tedious. And we see so many people in the business. I guarantee you that out of that 85% of people that close down within the first year or two, I would say 90% of those probably don't even know their COGS.
I would go further. I would say 100% probably, really close to 100%. Of those did not do their COGS. And that's including someone who just looked at their competitors down the road and based their prices off of them as well, which is a big mistake a lot of people do as well. Because, the next little shop or mom and pop shop, I'm not counting on them to do their COGS either at all. And so, like you said, it's very tedious, but it's kind of like once you start doing it, it's there. And you just have to kind of evaluate your cost of the good throughout the year. So I know that I can get 9 1/4 cups of frappe mix out of my packet. That will always be the same. I don't think my brand is ever going to change the amount that they put in there, but my cost of that mix will fluctuate. So in my sheets, all I have to do is adjust it from $17.99 to $18.99. So most of the work is done for you when you go to update that. So that's the benefit of breaking it down and doing it early in your business for sure.
Yeah. So, let's just use a caramel cold brew for an example to give people like a little bit of a visual, right? So you got a caramel cold brew, and when you sell a caramel cold brew, and I'm trying to figure out the COGS for a caramel cold brew, I mean, I need to write out on a piece of it. I mean, you can do this on a spreadsheet, whatever that looks like, but what goes in the caramel cold brew? Tell us, Des.
If I want to break down a cost for a caramel cold brew, first thing I'm going to do is figure out how much I have per gallon of cold brew. How much does a gallon of cold brew cost me? And then I have to figure out how many ounces of that cold brew is going to go into this 16-ounce caramel cold brew. Once you get done with that, you have to make sure that you have to kind of calculate, okay, how much ice am I putting into my cup? How much sauce or syrup am I putting into my cup? Am I adding milk or am I adding any kind of other liquids to it? You have to put that into it. How much does my cup cost? How much is my lid? Do you do straw lids or do you do sip lids? If you need a straw, you have to calculate that. If you have some kind of special drizzle, you have to break that down. And so it is a very micro, not just, okay, my cup and my straw cost this. You have to think literally about every ingredient that is going to go inside of that cold brew. To make your cold brew, we have to know how much a gallon costs, but you also have to calculate in your gallon of water that is going to, if you don't use concentrate, how much is that going to be added to your COGS for your cold brew in itself. So we don't do labor's not in that. I don't consider COGS like utilities and stuff like that running. It's strictly the ingredients that is going to make that end result of your coffee.
And so that's how you break it down to get those numbers, right? But what you want to look at is, okay, how much do I have in all of these ingredients that goes into this product? So let's just say a caramel cold brew takes me $1.50 to make. And then what you want to do is measure that against how much you're selling it for, right? So your COGS is the $1.50. That's all the ingredients that goes into the product. And then what are you selling? Let's just say you're selling it for $5. So you got $1.50 in it, and then you're selling it for $5. So that's the difference between that, which is what, $3.50, I think. Yeah.
So you take your COGS and you divide it into your sales price. and that'll be your percentage of how much it costs. So it
Yeah.
should be about 30%, the numbers that you just kind of threw out.
Yeah. And then let's talk about the last piece is going to be a marketing budget, right? So this can fluctuate greatly. You basically can have like an organic traffic coming through a social media platform. You could be paying for advertisement. You can have billboards, radio. There's so many different ways that you can market and drive sales, direct mailing. And it really kind of depends on how involved you are with your community, because a lot of times people are going to buy from you because who you are. Like, and if you're starting a new business, that's why we've seen, so much success in the Grit and Grind brand is because we do have a very successful investment model business and it is profitable, right? But I can't just go and launch in a completely different state where nobody's heard of the brand, nobody knows the brand, and expect to be successful on day one. I have to spend some marketing dollars to make sure that I am warming up that community, that place for them to, understand who we are as a brand, what we're about, like what products that we have. We've always said, you can have the best hamburger or coffee in the world, but if nobody knows about that product, then how are you going to convince them to come and spend their money? They're not, because they don't know about it. So you have to spend, some type of budget in the marketing space. Highlight the 3 variable costs, right? So basically, when we like to look at it, it's 3 main ones, and that's going to be labor costs, COGS, and marketing.
The next one's going to be customer-based metrics. And so a few of these are going to be your ticket price, your revenue per customer. And so if you have a solid POS system, you should be able to go in and see that. You can also adjust this. You can upsell small things like drizzles or sweet creams or bakery items or pastries. So that's easy to kind of fluctuate too. Another customer-based metric is going to be your daily sales revenue. So tracking those trends, identifying your peak hours and kind of utilizing that to be able to upsell things or kind of cater to a specific demographic. If you have a lot of, people, if you are crazy busy from, let's say, 6 to 7, we know people are on the way to work. So we need to try and make that as easy as possible for them. If you're not implementing online orders, maybe do that. So that way that person on the way to work can go ahead, place their order, swing by, pick it up. That's just going to increase those daily revenue sales. And then last in this customer-based metric is going to be customer retention. And so how many times is that customer coming back? A lot of us don't have a system to be able to keep up with that metric. Again, we love Drippos and they have a loyalty system already embedded into their POS. I don't think it's any extra charge. And it's so cool. You can customize it. You can go in and pick how many points, or we call them pearls, that your customer can get until they get a free drink, or you can do whatever you want. It's so customizable. The sky is literally the limit. You can give out free drinks, 50% off, $1 off, whatever you want with that loyalty system. But having something in place so you can actually keep up with, are your customers enjoying your coffee? Are they enjoying your experience, your brand? Because if they're not coming back, then there's a massive gap that you need to fill. And I mean, we can just go on about our day and not hear about that, but word of mouth is going to make your brand stand out. Everyone makes coffee. It's everywhere. But the thing that is going to make people come back is the experience that they're feeling. And of course, decent coffee as well. But how do we know they're coming back? We got to make sure that we measure that.
Yeah, just to touch on that as well, is we've seen so much success and really wasn't even trying in the beginning, but having somebody leave a review online for you, because again, you're talking about people that don't know your business model, that does not know who you are and what you stand for. So what they do is the same thing we all do, is we go and try to learn as much information as we can about them before we spend the money with them. So as we're traveling through and looking at coffee shops, we're looking at the reviews, like which one has a good product, because we don't want to jump off the interstate and spend our money with a business model that, does not meet our expectations. And one of the ways that we vet that is by checking out the online reviews. So don't sleep on the reviews. Make sure that you're getting those. You get good ones by making sure that you take care of the customer and you serve a good quality product.
Yeah. And a
All
lot
right,
of people are
so
like, a lot of people are like, how do you get reviews? Eric will literally be like, hey, will you go leave us a review? And people are like, really? That's how you do it? Yeah, that's how you do it. You ask someone, because then
yeah.
half the time they can't tell you no, because look at this face.
Yeah. So, all right, let's kind of jump on this last section is operation metrics. Big thing is going to be inventory. We make sure that you're tracking your waste and stock and things like that. Right. And then also a big one is location. Like, so if you're talking about the mobile coffee concept, you get to test different events and then different areas, which one has the better traffic flow, which one allows the customer to get in and out with ease. Is this event going to draw a large crowd? Is this event going to be a dud? So kind of like really spending a little bit of time on, researching what that specific location is going to do for you is going to be also something we don't really measure, but we always spend a little bit of time ensuring that we've thought through all the pain points and then like the what ifs of scenarios of like the event style. Give you one example. We were talking to somebody the other day and it was like, hey, I'm fixing to go to my first mobile coffee event. What are some of the things that I should know? And I seen, it was actually in our free group and I seen a lot of good insight, but I can tell you, I've been to several events to where if I'm not set up in the right location, meaning that, you could be all the way at the back and then you can look at the map and see, okay, well, am I going to get foot traffic, or do the customers like have 3 exit points before they get to me, which tells me that some of these customers that are coming into the event are probably never even going to make it to my location. So I would rather negotiate a spot more towards the entrance to be able to ensure more eyes or more people are able to see the products that I'm selling. But there was a lot of good ones, and just, that's just one of them. But I think lastly, Des, what I would like to do is maybe give people a little bit more actionable intel into our secret to success, right? So there are some things that I think that we do very well. And I think part of that is vetting, kind of like doing a full analysis on how we're going to be profitable and then articulating that to the people that we partner with and investors. And we have a pretty simple formula that we follow, collected a lot of data that is something that I think is successful and it's measurable. So let's hit them with that and give them that kind of recipe. When we talk about our personal formula that we use to measure net profit.
Yeah. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get a traffic count. You can typically find this information online, free, somewhere. You're going to find that location. You're going to find this traffic count. Industry standard for your traffic count conversion is going to be 2 to 5, which I know is a big gap. We usually do worst case scenario. And so that's going to be, let's just say 2%. So let's play around with some numbers. If we are going to set up potentially a new location, and let's say the traffic count is 10,000, I'm going to times that by maybe 2.5. We're not going to go completely low, but we're not going to go best case scenario. We're thinking worst case scenario for this. So 10,000 people. I found this on the DOT website. I'm using a base conversion rate of 2.5%. I can estimate that 250 of those 10,000 people are going to come to my coffee shop. Once we have that 250, that's awesome. But what good is that going to do for us? I'm going to go in because I'm measuring and I have a metric to figure out what is my average ticket price. What is the average person selling? So if one of those 250 people walk up, how much are they spending with me? I know that they're going to spend about $12.50 with me. So we take those 250 people, we times it by our average ticket price, $12.50, and we come up with about $3,125 per day. So when we think about that, we can not only just have that number, but now we have goals. I'm not settling for anything less than $3,000 unless it's pouring down raining outside. But unless we have these metrics, even not just for us as business owners, but we've got to be able to relay those metrics to our employees too. We don't tell our girls, hey, you've got to make $1,000 today. We give them a ticket number like, hey, let's go for 100 tickets today. And they are texting us the entire time in a group message like, dude, we've already hit 80 tickets and it's only 9 o'clock. Or we've done 101 today and our goal was 100. Like that gets your employees excited about being profitable. Yeah. But also we're all goal oriented. We want something to achieve. And so it's neat to have these numbers because now I know if I choose this location that is going to have about 10,000 in traffic count, I'm almost guaranteed 3,000. And if I go and set up here and I'm here for, let's say, 6 months and I am underballing, I'm at 22 or maybe $2,000 average, there's something that needs to change. We've got to figure out something. We've got to implement some marketing. We've got to get the reach because the people in the traffic is there. The conversion rate is there. We might not have our prices set correctly. Our ticket price might actually be $8 whenever our COGS are garbage, and we need to increase that to increase our ticket sale, or we need to get in front of more eyeballs. But we never know that goal or what that revenue goal could be unless we do our conversion rates.
Yeah. And then, so to dive into that a little bit more, let me give you kind of exactly the recipe that we use, because we like to look at everything in percentages, right? And we've done a lot of homework and we've backed all of these out to make sure that they're accurate across all of our locations. And so if we're going to go open up a new Grit and Grind location, what we're going to basically base these numbers off of, we're going to run at an optimal 27% labor costs. Our COGS need to be around 31%, marketing budget 2%, taxes 10%, software 1%, loans 5%, utilities 3%, and insurance 1%. So if you add all of those percentages up, that equals 80%. So basically what it costs us to run this business model is going to be 80%. We're going to net 20% back in. Net means like I actually put in my pocket, walk away with, that's what I'm taking home. So what is that number, Des? So if I'm using the same calculation that you just gave everybody and I'm netting 20%, what's that look like daily?
So we have our 10,000 traffic count. We got a 2.5% conversion rate. We know that 250 people are coming to my shop. They're spending about $12.50. We're going to be making about $3,125 a day. We are net profiting 20% of that, which is going to be $625 a day.
So you do the math on that. I'm $625 per day, and then times that by, let's just say that you're open 7 days a week, and then 7 days, and then 12 months. I mean, that's what you would bring home annually, put in your pocket, and then you figure out if that's worth it to you or not. And then you can also kind of look at our baseline metrics on what we're bringing home, and always think about this. Those variable costs, which are going to be what? Labor costs, COGS, and marketing. I mean, you can always make up a percent or two here and there, but you also could be losing a percent or two here and there. So really having your finger on the pulse is going to be critical in how you sustain this business long term. So let's wrap this thing up. So that is our secret sauce. That is how we basically gauge whether or not we're having a location that's going to be profitable. So hopefully this really helps you, and you can start really dialing in and measuring all of these KPIs and how profitable your business is going to be so you can stay in business long term. So
yeah, this is the stuff that, again, is going to take time to slow down and do. But once you do it, it's just easy tweaks. But if you don't want to be a part of that 85% in the first 2 years, and you said, okay, this is a good run, packing up and kind of selling out, then please slow down and track your KPIs. And if you need any help, reach out. We are an open book. We have tons of resources. Our free group, hit us up in the DM or email. If there's anything else that we can kind of create for you guys, let us know. We are always willing to help because we were there. Trust us, like less than 3 years ago, we didn't know any of this, and we're figuring it out along the way. And we have slowed down and did it, and you can kind of see the rewards from it. So that's it. No grit, no pearl.